Hey there, Ideal Protein Nation worldwide. We are back. It's been a little longer break between shows, and I'm a little bit rusty. However, I have an incredible show for you today. We are just going to get right to it. For those of you who are new listeners and new viewers, the Life Possible podcast spotlights successful clients, coaches, and clinic owners who have used the Ideal Protein protocol to absolutely transform their lives. These people didn't just lose a couple pounds here or there. These people use this protocol for personal transformation, and they are now living what we like to refer to as life possible. These people are pursuing goals and dreams that they thought were dead and gone. These people are pursuing goals and dreams that they never thought they could. These people are pursuing goals and dreams they didn't even know they had. In short, they're living a life that is so fantastic that they don't feel the need to escape from it. It is my hope that you will connect with these people's stories, that something will click in you, that you will identify with their decision to start this journey, and that it will spur you on to start your very own. Who am I and why am I actually doing this? Well, my name is Dr. John Barnes. I am the clinic director at Barnes Chiropractic Health and Fitness, and we are a very proud authorized clinic for Ideal Protein. We have been doing the Ideal Protein protocol now for over 5 years. You know, for me personally, 6 years ago, there's no two ways about it. I was fat, sick, and depressed. I had allowed myself to get so far down in a pit and so unhealthy. I never imagined that I would get there. And the problem with it is I did not see a way out, and I had given up. But lo and behold, the Ideal Protein protocol came to me by way of one of my patients. And truly, I believe it was an answer from God to a lot of my prayers, both personally and professionally. I was very quickly able to lose 45 pounds doing the protocol the first time. And I'm so proud to say that now, about 5 years later, I've even improved upon that. I'm over 60 pounds down from my original weight, and I'm living a life that I feel nothing short of healthy, vibrant, and alive. I've been able to return to the sport of triathlon after over 25 years of inactivity. And now for the past 2 years, I've been training and racing in a sport that I love. So let's get to our featured guest this week. Our featured guest this week is Kaitlin Hamer-Slack. As you can tell from these photos, this young lady is extremely special to me. Kaitlin is my niece, and her journey has been something that I've been incredibly proud of. Who this young lady is someone that I am incredibly proud of. And I hope that, like I said, this show, when I put this show together with her, our hope is that we will be able to connect with young ladies who are in high school or college or 20-somethings who are struggling with their weight, their journey, and that this will inspire them to actually take the Ideal Protein journey and see that this truly could be a way for personal transformation. Let us, without any further ado, bring Kaitlin Hamer-Slack in. Hey, Kate.
Hello, Uncle John. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so excited to be here.
And I'm so excited to have you. So excited that this is take number 3, I think. Yeah, I apologize for that. We have so much to say, and now we have less time to do it in. So I want to just hit the ground running.
Absolutely.
First off, I do want to bring back the pictures that we have on there. I loved when you sent me this collage of you and I in all the different phases of our journey. It warmed my heart so tremendously. And, it is certainly one of my favorites that you had sent me. And I love that you had the foresight to put this together. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I love those pictures. They really just remind me that it's a journey that we've taken together. So
yeah, absolutely. And I hope that our viewers actually get some of the before pictures of me. I think that's really interesting is that first picture very definitely is a before. Again, I was funny, fat Uncle John. That was a persona that I took on when I gave up on my weight loss journey. And but then that middle picture is me after I had undergone my first phase 1, and you, I believe that was when you reached goal. Please tell me that's when you reached goal.
I think I was close. I think I was close because we took the picture because I was so close, and I wanted to have a picture to remember it.
Yeah, and then the most recent picture down at the bottom was was that early this year, or was that over the holidays?
That was before I was married, so that was early 2019. We had gone to see Elmer's band.
Yep, we'd gone to see Uncle Elmer play, and yeah, that was so cool. So I loved that you put those things together for us. So I also want our viewers to understand who you are and what you are doing. So I would love for you to talk to them a little bit about all the wonderful work that you're doing with the St. Francis Inn in downtown Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, thank you so much. So I work at the St. Francis Inn, and we're located in Kensington, which is notably a lower income area of Philadelphia. And the St. Francis Inn, we are a Franciscan Eucharistic community, and we're built up of friars and nuns and married people and lay people. And we work to serve the poor and people experiencing homelessness in Philadelphia. I mean, we do that in so many ways. We operate a soup kitchen, and that's our primary function. So we serve one meal a day. We used to serve 2, and it used to be, we used to bring everybody inside, and there were servers and bussers and maitre d's, and our guests were able to feel so at home, and at this time of the year, escape from the cold. And unfortunately, due to COVID, we have to switch to a grab-and-go style. So we're still able to serve all of our guests. We just serve them in a grab-and-go fashion. So we're working really hard to try to continue to build that community and, inspire our guests and to feed them, primarily. We serve that immediate need. We also have a clothing distribution center right next door, and our guests can come in and get one outfit every single week. We have a job center that allows our guests to come in and work on their resumes, apply for jobs. One of our volunteers runs that. So we try really hard to keep things going. We serve about 200 people a day. We were serving more before the pandemic, but thank God everybody is serving. There are a lot of people giving out food right now. So it's been really wonderful to experience that and be a part of this in Philly specifically. So.
Yeah, no, it's incredible work. And, again, as you were going through the decision process to do this, I know that you prayed about it a lot and you thought about it a lot. Watching you go through this, I know our family and your family couldn't be more proud of the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Again, we worry about you at times, and especially in the middle of the pandemic when everything hit. And it was amazing to hear stories about how, again, in every effort to keep the place open and to keep being able to clothe and feed the people, you had to jump in being one of the younger people on staff, right?
Yes, we do. We have suspended volunteering for now. It's safer for our guests to not have people coming in and out except for the staff. And our older staff members, we've really cut back as to the amount of work that they're doing in person with the guests. And, but we never had to close, which was a wonderful thing. We've been able to stay open this whole time. And one of my favorite guests, actually, right when the pandemic started, she came running down the street and she said, "Thank God you are open." And I said, "Of course we're open. Why would we close?" And she goes, "That's what I told my son. He was worried you guys weren't going to be open." And I said, "That's St. Francis Inn. They're always here for us." So we've been very, very blessed to be able to stay open through all of this and continue to serve.
Oh, yeah, that is so awesome. One of the blessings, and we talked about this, of having multiple takes is the fact that I'm now realizing I forgot to call you out on this picture. The first 2 times, I noticed there in the picture with your mask that you happen to be hiding a Philadelphia Eagle t-shirt underneath there, which does disappoint me a little bit.
Well, our guests love it when I wear anything that has to do with Philadelphia. I get a shout out if I wear my Eagle shirt, my Flyers sweatshirt. Shout out to the Flyers who just gave us, over 100 turkeys and lots of produce at Thanksgiving to be able to let our guests have Thanksgiving in their homes. So
you're killing me, Kate. You're making it hard to hate our rivals. Gosh, the Flyers, really? They're actually good people like that?
So I like to wear the Philadelphia gear because it makes our guests smile a little bit extra.
Oh, that's awesome. I really do love that. That's so cool. All right, let's go to your journey. Your journey started back in 2015, right?
Yes.
Which was that was same year, and it was months after I had done my initial journey. So tell everybody a little bit about how you heard about Ideal Protein and what led up to your decision.
Absolutely. So the summer of 2015 was very eventful for me. It was actually the first time I'd ever been to the St. Francis Inn, started this journey. And I did that. And then I did that for a week. And the day after I got back from that trip, I went abroad and I studied abroad, which was my first trip ever abroad. Scary in its own. And it was so much fun. I got to do it with my best friend and we just traipsed all over Europe, which was great. But traipsing does involve a lot of walking. And so by the time the trip was over, I had swollen ankles. I just felt really horrible. I remember getting home and my dad actually took me to Chipotle because we hadn't eaten in like almost 24 hours, it felt like, because we were just traveling from one place to the next. And I could barely get out of the car because my ankles were so swollen.
Wow.
And, before I went on the trip, my mom had pulled me aside and we were sitting in her room and she had shown me pictures of your journey and she was like, look at Uncle John. I can't believe he looks so great. Like, isn't that inspiring? Is this something that you might want to try? And she never pushed me to try it or to go for it, but she always indicated that if I did try it, she would be incredibly supportive. And so that was the first time I had heard about what you were doing in Ideal Protein. And then when I got back home from this trip, it was like, okay, very heavily considering doing this because of just how awful I felt. And how much I felt like I needed to change and that this was the time to do it. And so that's when I signed up for one of your introductory sessions to show up and try to figure it all out.
So, again, we kind of talked about when we brought these pictures up, when you went to Europe, you created a whole different social media account.
It did.
Do you remember what it was called?
Kaitlin. Oh, it was Hamer Takes Europe, and it was so
Hamer Takes Europe. Yes.
I could post as many pictures as I wanted, and only bother the people that wanted to follow it. So
exactly right, and it was great because we were all following it. It was so fun to see where you were going, etc. But I did confide in you, and I did share with you that this picture, the very first picture of you with the scooter, so that kind of helped some of your traipsing because you found a scooter. You weren't moseying like your mom does, but you
no, not at
all. So that very first picture, really kind of tugged at my heartstrings when I saw it, and it really, again, like I said, I sent a little prayer up, hoping that you would consider doing the Ideal Protein program. It is hard for coaches and clinic owners and people who have been successful in the program to approach family members or friends that they, know that this would be such a great thing for them to do, and just really desire to that they would go through the same transformation that you went through. You just want that for those people, but sometimes it's hard to bring that up, right?
Absolutely. It's even hard to bring it up just as, not a coach, not a, just a family member, just a friend. I remember right after I'd started Ideal Protein, one of my parents' friends who we only see once a year, if that, had pulled me aside and said, I'm really glad you're taking, this chance because I was about to say something to your parents. I was starting to get worried about you. And I remember that really, really did not feel good at first. But then upon reflection, it was, people care about me and people care about, what the rest of my life is going to look like. And so that it was important that he told me that, even though I had already started to do something about it.
Yeah, no, it that's the thing, right? And it totally came from a place of love.
Mm-hmm.
And after you get over, ears have to hear that.
Yeah.
Some ears might choose to hear that and be offended by it, but again, I think that's kind of the person that you are, is who people are, and the things that they may say to you hopefully come from a place of love, which that did.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's important. I actually want to touch on that second picture where you were trying on dresses for Christmas. Is what you were saying? Yeah,
I was trying on Christmas dresses because I was so excited to come home for Christmas, but I had brought home nothing that was appropriate to wear to Mass. So I went to TJ Maxx and started trying on dresses and just couldn't believe the sizes I was fitting in and how good I was feeling. And I took a picture and I made that post. I combined the two photos together. And at that point, Ideal Protein was, regarded as the top diet of 2015 or something like that. I had read an article and I thought that was so cool that I was involved with the top diet of 2015. And so I posted that picture to share my success with my friends and family. And I remember just feeling so wonderful at that point.
And it's important now that we also talk about, because I didn't say it at first, that you lost over 80 pounds between those two pictures there. That before and after picture is over 80-pound weight loss.
I did 80 hard pounds.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that and what was so hard about it. No, and then the picture of you in the Hawaiian shirt, right? Mm-hmm. I loved. I put together that before and after because for me, again, watching you on social media as your uncle, that before and after brought me the most joy. It truly, again, you're so joyous in either shot, right? You're always smiling. You're always so full of joy and life, and that's how you've been ever since you were a kid. But for me, just to kind of see that, that's my favorite before and after picture ever.
I love that picture because it makes me think of, you texted me. I hadn't sent you that picture. And we were celebrating my friend's birthday and we were having such a great day. And you had screenshotted the picture and sent it back to me. And you said, "You go, girl." And it was just, I had just gotten to college, back into college in August. And it was just really motivating to get that picture back and say, I am doing a good job.
Yeah, right. No, that's absolutely fascinating. So you decided to take you came to the workshop, right? You came to the workshop. You had a certain impression as to what this program was going to be.
I did.
Tell us about that and how different it actually turned out to be.
I didn't know much about the program when I first signed on, just that it worked for you. And so my impression of it was that it was going to be meats and vegetables. That's what I got, And so it's like, all right, I'll eat carrots and corn and I'll be fine. I'll make it through on carrots and corn and chicken. It's going to be okay. And then I got to the introductory session and one of the first things you said was, this isn't a diet where you can have things like carrots and corns and starchy vegetables. And I was like, what? And so, I learned to love the greens very, very quickly.
And it's funny because, again, with our family history and especially your mom knowing me so well, just the fact that Uncle John evidently ate 4 cups of primarily green vegetables every single day during my mom, Moni does not believe yet that I did that.
I told Moni I was coming on your podcast, and she said, "You call him out. You tell him he didn't eat any vegetables growing up."
So yeah, if Uncle John can go through this, you should be able to do this, right?
Definitely.
But meat, vegetables, and water. That sounds great. Sign me up. Where do I sign up for this kind of a program?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody just said that on an Ideal Protein show, and they were like, "Yeah, we're going to eat a lot of vegetables and drink a lot of water." And my coaches and I were kind of like, that sounds great.
Yummy.
They're going to be knocking down our door.
Right.
So you did find out that, in fact, it's not just meat and vegetables. It's actually kind of fun.
I was having a really good time, to be honest. So I said, after I went to the introductory meeting, I started the next day. I actually made a post on one of my social media sites, and I had said, I'm going to really throw myself into this. I'm going to try really hard. And I started the next day, and I had my keto flu, if you will, for about 3 days, and I felt horrible. But I pushed through, and on that 4th day, I felt great. And my mom saw me when I come upstairs, and she goes, "Wow, your skin is so clear." And from there, we were smooth sailing.
Yeah, you had that glow, and we the coaches in our office, we've talked about this. We can tell how successful somebody has been during that first week. Mm-hmm. When they walk through the door, just take one look at their face. And if they've got that healthy glow that people get when they've shifted from a sugar and insulin metabolism to a ketogenic metabolism, man, I tell you, it shows in this wonderful, healthy glow in your face first.
Yeah.
So, that's really cool. And then, too, you found out that there were some foods that they were kind of fun.
I didn't know anything about the products, and now I find myself really enjoying the products. I started, trying everything. I remember getting a pack that had the, different things to try. And so I tried a bunch of stuff, and I don't think there's one product that I've tried that I've been, that I didn't like. There are some that I like significantly better, or like my faves, dill zippers. I'll shout those out. Those are my favorites.
Yep.
But, I was so excited that when I was hungry, I was eating something that I was enjoying. That was a big thing for me, I didn't feel like I was making this huge sacrifice because I was still enjoying what I was eating.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing for people to understand, and that this is actually kind of a fun thing. It's not as restrictive and not as blah as you would think that it would be.
Right.
So yeah, you got started, you got rolling. Man, I tell you, the most important thing you said in that last paragraph was you threw yourself into this. Truly 100%. This isn't something somebody can do halfway. You can't do this 80% and expect any results. But man, if you surrender and just throw yourself into this thing, you get these crazy results, right?
Right. And I really felt like, I had someone in my life, who I'd seen be so successful. And I had this just complete desperation to be healthier. And I think both of those things put together, plus the support of my family, really just pushed me into that. I was really ready. I was doing it for me. I was excited. And it really just made me feel like this was the time to start this.
Yeah. And that brings us. So, we like to say, and Dr. Tran, who's the founder of the protocol, likes to say, your head and your heart finally got aligned.
Yeah.
And weight loss can happen only when your head and your heart are aligned in the same direction. And so those two things came together for you. The other thing that I love that you stress all the time is the idea that this kind of a journey is for you and you alone. You can't do this for anybody else.
Yeah, I had tried, at some points in my life, I remember specifically, thinking the other day in reflection, I've worked at a gym for the majority of my life. And, whether it be the gym I worked at back home or the gym I worked at in college. And there were many points where I just said, I'm going to go to the gym every day and I'm going to get healthy. And I'm going to lose weight. And that's how we're going to do it, is go to the gym. And I just was not successful, or I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I'm going to get healthy because I want a boy to like me, or I'm going to get skinny because I want to be more like my friends, or any of those reasons just didn't work for me until I prioritized that it's for me. I'm going to do this because I need to be a better person. I need to be healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that too, right? We talked about the fact you worked at a gym forever, and, unfortunately, also being bombarded with all the messages that we are from the media and advertising and the fitness industry. And, you got to work it off, girl, right? You got to go to the gym, eat less, work it off. And that's how you do it.
Right.
And, again, for me, I think this is really huge too. I was, my undergraduate degree is in exercise science. I even got 2 personal training certifications. And if I could become obese, get stuck, and not be able to diet and exercise my way out, for me, that was the landmark moment when I realized, oh my God, this is what people talk about when they say it doesn't work for me. I never understood why that didn't work. But when your metabolism changes and truly goes into a carbohydrate intolerant, insulin resistant state, you cannot exercise it off. Your body will not access fat and burn fat for fuel. These are concepts that I had no idea of, even with all of my background and education. And so, for all of you out there who have been struggling and been trying to work this off, and before you sign up for that gym again, January 1st, please, please, please find an Ideal Protein clinic. Go to a virtual workshop, listen to the points that behind this program, because there's a huge benefit in this protocol that people don't understand. To first fix your metabolism and then lose weight.
Yeah.
And that was just such an eye opener. And it still took me, even after I had my weight loss journey, it took me a couple of years before I fully wrapped my head around all of the science behind what goes on there. But that frustration is, it's tremendous. And like you said, you would do it solid for a week, and then you get super frustrated, give up, and have that cookie.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, I was going to say, mind you, I was going to the gym and then not making any healthy eating choices and then going back to the gym. So.
Yep. Yeah, no. So, so you lost, man, you started July 7th, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
We went all the way through August, and then, oh my God, you had to go back to college.
I know. I'm
Right?
very, very blessed to have started the program when I did. There's me. And if I had started a little bit later, I think I wouldn't have had the, first of all, success before I left for school, or the confidence to keep, or the willpower, to be honest, to keep going. And so I'm so blessed that I started in July and was able to lose weight before I went back to school. And then I was able to go back to school and make the right choices.
Yeah, that's got to be I remember the anxiety you were having about the ability to go to school and to stay true to the protocol the way that you had been, because you'd been so strict.
And it was hard. I was living on campus. Luckily, I had a kitchen in my dorm room, but unfortunately, the meal plan just wasn't going to work for me. Going to the dining hall, they didn't have those very specific options that were necessary to do phase 1 protocol. And so I got rid of my meal plan, and I had to go to the grocery store every single week, the first time on my own, going to the grocery store weekly. And I wasn't very creative. I was eating things like a pile of ground turkey and broccoli roasted in the oven, or kale chips. I ate a lot of kale chips. My roommates...
Kale was your best friend.
They probably smell the kale in their dreams because of how much I ate kale in college. And they loved them too. So it was an interesting transition, but I think we were able to do it really smoothly. Going from, getting to see you every single week and really having that accountability right there in front of you by going into the office changed, because, we were doing kind of our own version of online coaching before, Zoom and all that stuff.
Again, I look back at that and I think to myself, boy, with all the tools that we have now with Ideal Protein, like the Ideal Protein scale and the app and the way they sync together, and you can journal on the app and we can see your weight and body fat percentage on the scale. Man, that would have made that part of your journey so much easier on both of us.
Definitely.
We were doing it by phone and text and that kind of thing. But I could have helped you out, I think, so much more. And Zoom, for crying out loud. Who knew about Zoom?
Yeah, but I do think for what we had and for what we did, we had built the relationship beforehand to where I felt comfortable and confident, calling you and sharing things with you. And I think it was hard at first, if I'm being honest, because you were my uncle and you were my coach. And at first I had family and coaching a little bit separate, and I was embarrassed to come and talk to you about things that were going on in my weight loss and times where I was feeling like I couldn't do it. But we had built that great relationship before I left to where I felt like I could share anything with you. And so it propelled me into the rest of my journey, I think, when I was at school.
Yeah. So, you'd lost a total of over 80 pounds, but you'd really only gone, as we're looking back on it, you had lost 30 pounds before you went back to college. So you lost the majority of your weight actually at school.
I did. Yeah. It was
crazy, man. So, one thing that we talked about too is the idea of, again, being a young lady in this world of social media and pressures and things like that. Concepts of body positivity and loving yourself, and again, the pressures to post, your best self out there. Can you address some of those things?
Absolutely. I really felt like, when I was looking back, you asked me to find some good before and after photos. And I was looking back at a lot of the pictures I had taken, specifically my sophomore year of college, where I was at my heaviest. And I did a really good job of hiding behind my social media posts. I could fix the camera angle to make myself look and feel a certain way about myself by how the picture looked. And I remember taking different selfies, like 5 and 6 times before posting them, just to make sure that I looked the way I wanted other people to see me, and there's just such an immense pressure to perform on social media, especially for women. But you see everybody else and you see the way that they look and you just want to look like them and look as happy as they look. But there's just so many, lies behind it all because you don't know where the camera was pointed or what angle it was at or how they were really feeling that day. And so that only, adds to the stress of wanting to feel normal, wanting to feel like everybody else. And so I definitely struggled with that right before and during my weight loss.
Yeah, and we talked about the idea of, I loved how you explored or discussed the idea of you have to love yourself, right? Where you are.
You do. And I think, there's a lot of things out there right now on social media that say, I have to love me always, no matter what size I am. And I think that's really true. God made us all in his image and likeness, and we have to love ourselves just like he loves us, regardless of where we are at in our weight loss journey, where we are at in our mental health journey. We always have to love ourselves, and that's so important. But I think we have to love ourselves enough to be healthy and to want to be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, for me, at first I felt a little selfish taking on this journey because I was so focused on myself, but I quickly realized that weight loss and becoming healthier is such an unselfish journey because I had to make me better so that I can help other people to become their best selves and to, be the best version of me so that I was my best version for everybody else. So I think that's what really hit me at that point.
Absolutely. 100%. We talked about the idea that, you do have to love yourself where you are, but you also have to love yourself enough not to stay there. Again, the way that I've read in some of my favorite books and authors, God loves you no matter what part of your life you're in, no matter where you are. It's not going to change how much that God loves you, but he also loves you enough not to let you stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so applicable to my life. And I've, tried to apply that and help others with their journey. Dr. Tran also, the founder of Ideal Protein, his favorite quote that I have on my wall is, you do not have to lose weight to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to actually love yourself first in order to lose weight. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand.
Right. Absolutely. And I think, the celebrity culture and how much we see all these people on social media doesn't help that either. I think that, one of the things that comes to mind that I know we've talked a lot about is Rebel Wilson, and she was known. She's a beautiful, talented, I think incredible actress who made a lot of her career on being overweight. And so she became this icon for women who are overweight to love themselves and to be the best version of themselves and to, at being overweight. And then she went and she lost a ton of weight. She got healthy, and you see her all the time on social media now with her, I like to call it the Healthy People Starter Pack, with her water bottle and her athletic pants. And she, I know I don't have mine with me today. I always have my water bottle. But she started posting all these things and got so much hatred back from her viewers and her fans because they thought that she was no longer their icon. She was no longer their person. But really, nothing that she did was selfish. It was all to become healthier, healthier so that she could continue to live her life in the best way possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hate that goes on, right? You hate that, you can't make a healthy decision for yourself. You might actually be guilted or shamed because you've decided to change your life this way. Mm-hmm. And I know that shook you because you texted me like almost immediately. Oh my God, Uncle John, I can't believe what I just read. This poor girl, and, people who may or may not know, she was Fat Amy on the, all the acapella. What is the
Pitch Perfect?
Yeah, Pitch Perfect, right? Which incidentally I have seen all three of. Caroline sat me down to watch them, and I couldn't stop. Freaking hilarious movies, and of course she was a huge part of that, and she still is. I just saw a clip of her recently. Again, just an absolutely hilarious human being. But you know what? Darn it, anyhow, let her be healthy, right? So yeah, let's also kind of go on. And where are we going to go next? well, again, you're doing this in college, right?
Right.
So you got to goal. Oh no, this is where we need to go next. This is just one of the coolest stories ever. So you're doing this in college, right? And we talked about that, and you've got these supportive roommates and all this other great stuff. And but there's been one person who has been your best friend and support for you, and you've got another nickname for this guy all the way through. And I love this collage of you. And tell us who that guy is. Well, don't tell us. Don't spoil it.
So that's Jack. Many people like to call him my post as I change. He did not. And
right. So your measuring post, right?
Yeah, exactly. My measuring post. But in the first picture in the top left, we lived across the hall from each other freshman year of college, and he came up to me after we had our first class together, and he said, "My mom really wants a first day of school photo." And I said, "Okay." And he was like, "But I think it's going to look silly if I'm in it by myself. Will you be in this picture with me?" And I said, "Sure." And so one of my other friends took the camera, took the picture, and then actually the last day of school, we ended up.
Did you think that you had the same mother? I mean, right?
I know. I said it to my mom too. She was like, "This is so wonderful. First day of school." Right? And then, fast forward a year, on the last day of school, I ran into him, and he was actually with his mom. And he was wearing the exact same outfit. And I said, "Let's get a last day of school picture." So we got a last day of school picture. And everybody made a joke because he wore the same outfit. And so then we continued the tradition. Sophomore year, again, we met up first day of school, took a first day of school picture. Junior year, so on and so forth. And then senior year, we actually started dating. And so we took our first day of school picture, and one of my good friends, Will, commented on it and said, "It's so funny how much closer the two of you seem to be getting in the first day of school pictures." So we took our final first day of school picture senior year, and we started dating.
Yeah, that's so hilarious too. I just realized he's got the same shirt in all of them, right?
Every single one.
And that's such a guy thing. That must have been what attracted you to him, was that shirt, though.
Definitely. It's my shirt now. So,
but yeah, I thought this is so great. And so then, let's spill the beans. How did that relationship end up?
Well, so he ended up, we stayed together, and he ended up proposing to me in the first day of school outfit, and we've been married for a little over a year.
Yeah, and I love this wedding picture. Man, I tell you, that was an incredible day as I look back on it. And I the whole time, and we don't have enough time in this podcast. That might be another podcast worth of the things that went wrong at Kaitlin's wedding. And how I was joking when I rolled up in the car and said, "Kaitlin, jump in, you can get away now." And
then I had to jump in.
Little did I know that we had to drive the whole wedding party.
Yeah.
At least all the ladies. So, but yeah, I remember looking at you too during that day and just thinking to myself that, you had to feel just the absolute best about yourself. I know how brides get so worked up about every detail of the wedding and the reception and the dress and how they're going to look, but you had to have just been so ecstatic about what you had been able to achieve and how you looked on your wedding day.
I did. And to be honest with you, I was happy, I was feeling good, and I was marrying my best friend. And so, right. My support system through a lot of my weight loss journey. So I feel so blessed to have him by my side through all of this. I tell you all the time that whenever we cook dinner, he's eating like I'm eating, and he's been, just so supportive in all that I've been trying to accomplish in terms of my health. And, it's been so wonderful.
Yeah, no, I just, gosh, it's such a cool story. What a great guy. We all love him too. And I can't say enough about how neat that all was. Other funny stories. There's a couple other funny stories about you, in college doing the ideal protein protocol.
Absolutely.
One comes to mind about going out to fast food with your friends.
So, in college, trying to do this protocol, I didn't want to miss out on anything, obviously, but I feel, a lot of what happens in college revolves around eating and drinking and hanging out with your friends while you're eating and drinking. So luckily for me, I had this giant minivan, and I said, all right, everybody, get in the van. We're going to the party. I'll drive you there safely. I'll get you home safely. It'll be fine. And so I got to still enjoy myself and spend time with my friends without feeling pressured to, stop in my journey and to break protocol and to keep pushing forward. But it was hard, especially, there was a fast food chain that we'd all go to at, like 2:00 in the morning, and everybody wanted to get their quesadillas and their corn dogs and all kinds of fun stuff, milkshakes, and I'm sitting there like, I have to take them there, but I can't eat any of these things. And, they had a burger on the menu. They had a hamburger. And so I had saved some of my protein eating, for that point, and I would get a hamburger, and I would take the buns off the hamburger, and I'd pass them over to my good friend Jacob, and I can say his name because he loves the story. And we still, to this day, will talk about how, he'll say, you want to go to Cookout? We can get a hamburger. I'll eat the bun. And because it was a way that I just was able to feel a part of it all without having to, step away from the protocol or my journey.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to find those strategies. You just got to kind of work your way in there. We do coach people that you do have to either, if you know that you can't be that strong, then yes, you need to pull yourself out of social activities for a while. I think they call that social distancing now. Damn,
what a concept.
Where has this been for 5 years, right? I've been trying to get my clients to socially distance for years. But when you do get that strong, it's great to put those strategies into play. The designated driver thing, I coach all of my people in that. I say, look, you're on this journey and you absolutely, need to stay alcohol free.
Yes.
So this is the perfect opportunity to rack up points with your friends.
Exactly.
You be the designated driver, and then you keep track of how many times that happened and let them know that when you are done, it's their turn.
Right? And, at that point in my junior year, Jack and I hadn't been hanging out very much, but then he wanted to go to the bowling alley and have some beer. And I said, well, I'll drive you. I'll drive you.
Well, so let's touch on that too. We seems to be lost somewhere in my outline, but God, I also thought that this was fascinating. Just the whole concept of dating and the whole before and after you. Let's explore some of that stuff.
Yeah. So dating, I didn't do it before. Right. It was not something that I, felt confident and comfortable enough to do. And I didn't feel like people were looking at me in that way. And then I started to lose weight, and I started to know people who knew me before and knew me after. And then eventually there are people in my life that only know me as post-fat Kaitlin. And I had a bit of an identity crisis because I wasn't really, people were showing me more attention. Guys were showing me a different type of attention that I hadn't received before. And I didn't know how to handle that because nothing about me had changed except for the way that I looked. And I really struggled with the fact that my looks were so important, that if I had just done this earlier in my life, or I'd never been fat, if I had never gone down the sugared trail, would I have been happier earlier in life? Would I have had... So all these different things just kept circling in my mind. And I do feel like I kind of hurt some people along the way because I wasn't ready to date. I wasn't ready to be, this new version of me and be proud of both versions. Kind of like what we touched on before. I stopped loving the earlier self because I wasn't sure what was wrong with me. And so it was a new territory for me, and it was fun and interesting, and I learned a lot. But I do definitely think that I struggled in figuring out how to be me, after losing weight.
Yeah. And I remember when you first came to me and said, gosh, it's just so crazy. People that have known me for a long time, all of a sudden they want to date me, and I just don't know how I feel about that. And I, again, you're not a person that takes anything lightly.
No.
You always do take things very authentically. You live very authentically. And, it was interesting to see you kind of go through that stuff. I also thought it was neat when you talk about meeting people for the first time, as a thinner version of you. And like you said, a more confident version of you, somebody who is just starting to create their identity. And how I don't know, you it certainly has to be enjoyable, right?
It had its, I feel like the hardest thing for me is that losing weight is such a big part of my story, and what I've been through. And so when I meet people who don't know that I've been through that, it almost feels like they don't know me fully. A lot of my friends call me a friend collector, because I have a lot of people in my life that I've kept very close to me for very many years. And so the majority of my close friends do know my whole story and have been a part of my life for so long. But I also, it feels good to know that, at this point, people just know me for me, and what I am is a healthier person. And what, we talk a lot about how I'm so young doing this, and how I'm in college doing this, and, still trying to figure this out as a young 20-something. And it can be very daunting, I think, to be young and have lost weight. A lot of people wait until they're older to kind of make that realization that it's time to lose weight. But I started it so early on in my life's journey that it feels a little like, ooh, now I gotta, keep all this weight off for a long time. But it also
waited until I was 50, like Uncle John.
No. But it also makes me feel like Ideal Protein talks a lot about like getting your life back. I do Ideal Protein so you can get your life back. But I feel like I did Ideal Protein and it got my life started. I feel like doing Ideal Protein just gave me so many opportunities to figure out who I am and to grow as a person. And so I'm so grateful for the journey that was and that is. And, Ideal Protein doesn't end when you finish phase 1. So, trying to keep going.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So one of the topics that we talked about before as well, the awareness of and understanding and dealing with sugar addiction, which, again, I think is something that you and I have shared. It's certainly a big part of both of our stories. Talk about that.
I think, and when I was younger, I had, no concept or no understanding of what an unhealthy relationship with food looked like besides what was put in front of me. I thought if I wasn't anorexic, if I didn't struggle with bulimia, that I was fine and I was just going to keep living my life. And that was what an eating disorder was. And that was kind of what I took to. And then I would, go into the pantry and steal snacks when no one was looking. And I would go into the freezer and steal cookies out of a container, which just feels so crazy to say, so many years later, because I got caught. I got caught doing those things, and I felt shame. And then what did I do? I ate. And so I'm finally able to, because of Ideal Protein, understand why I was doing those things, but also why, that I have an eating disorder and that I struggle with disordered eating, which is 100% an unhealthy relationship with food. And I'm not ashamed to say that anymore, because it's a part of who I am and it's a part of what I work to overcome. And I just feel like, so, looking back on that time, I had no understanding of why I always went back to, sneaking food or eating too much food. And now I have a broader understanding of, the addiction that sugar is.
Yeah. And again, just identifying all of those things that you talked about. And that's part of my famous chocolate chip story where, I was hiding and sneaking and eating them and then I got caught. Right. And identifying that as addictive behavior. And now truly your eyes have been opened. Right.
Yeah. And, working in Kensington, I would say a large percentage of the people that I work with are addicted to opioids. And we're living in the opioid epicenter of America. And watching my guests struggle with heroin addiction is such an eye-opening experience for me, because I have so much empathy for those people, because I feel like it's just like what it is with sugar. Obviously, the effects of opioid use and heroin use are immediate, and you are going to see that very much on the immediate front. And sugar addiction might be over time. You're not going to see that right off the bat, but over time, a sugar addiction will have the same effect. but, I look at the guests who, we give somebody an extra $5 so that they can take the bus, and they end up using it to get a fix. Yeah. And that, the lack of control is so similar in a sugar addiction, and so I can do my job better because I am more empathetic to the idea that, there's so much that's out of your control. There's just so much that's out, and willpower is something that you can build, and it's something that everybody has, but there's just something in our brains that, latches on to these substances, including sugar, including heroin, including caffeine, right, that we just have to learn more about before we can overcome that.
Yeah, and you cannot underestimate the power of the sugar addiction, and people will blow it off and say, "Oh my God, you're crazy." Sugar addiction is certainly not like a heroin addiction, but it's because either number one, they don't have it and haven't experienced it, or number two, they don't want to admit it, or they're not self-aware.
Well, it's the keto flu that I mentioned earlier. It's the first 3 days that I did Ideal Protein, I felt horrible. And it was the withdrawal. It was not having all that sugar in my life. And noticing the different places that sugar was in is just, we like to play the fun game here at the end of how many carbs is in that sauce, and how many sugars can you find, because it's just so funny because I just had no concept of where the sugar was hiding in my diet, and where it was just blatant, obviously. Right. But the keto flu is no joke. It's like a withdrawal. So it's just fascinating, the whole process to really, you can't do it until you wrap your mind around the fact that you try not to blame yourself totally. I also don't want to blame anybody else for, my obesity. I don't want to blame anybody else for my lack of willpower. But at the same time, it's not all my fault.
Well, you bring up another point, and I'm just going to talk about Dr. Tran one more time, because every time that Dr. Tran opens his mouth, he says very profound things. And the most recent thing that really struck me was when he put a video out about sugar addiction. Mm-hmm. And he said that, you have to number one, you have to identify and be aware of it, right? But, sugar addiction might not actually be your fault. Right. I mean, again, all the messages we've received, every time the government gets in control of things, they tend to screw it up. And boy, I tell you, with the pyramid and the diet that they gave us, 6 to 11 servings of bread, rice, cereal, and pasta will make anybody addicted to carbs. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, again, your sugar addiction is not your fault. However, it is your responsibility. And you truly are the only person who can pull you out of it,
Right.
And
absolutely.
I think it's a extremely important thing that he's pointed out. It's not your fault. And we also want to assign blame, but there's no value in that, right? It is what it is. Unfortunately, though, you are going to be the only person who can overcome that. And so what better way to do that than with a professional coach?
Right.
And this absolutely perfect medical protocol that is designed to reverse that.
And you just have to put in the work. There's an author who I love. Her name is Glennon Doyle. And she says, it seems so silly, when you say it, but she has a quote that just sticks with me all the time now. And it's, "We can do hard things," and it sounds really silly coming out of my mouth, but whenever something is that challenging comes my way, I just look at it and I can say, we can do hard things. We don't have to avoid this because it's difficult. We don't have to, not push it aside because we don't think we can do it. We can do the hard things. And so that's kind of what I hold on to now, entering my maintenance journey and, just my life.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Great segue. Let's wrap things up here. Let's talk a little bit about this journey of maintenance. You and I and a lot of our clients, we have not done phase one just once.
No. I've had quite the lengthy journey. And again, I don't think that the journey will ever be over. I think you're always moving forward. You're always, regardless of what happens in your health journey, you're moving in a direction that's going to help you grow. And so I did Ideal Protein phase one for the first time and lost 80 pounds. And then I gained 40 of them back. And that was really challenging for me. It was embarrassing. I felt so much shame. And in phase one, at the end of phase one, you set a trigger weight. When you get here, come and talk to me because we need to, you don't want to get above that anymore. And I was too embarrassed. I didn't want to come and talk to you about, all the different things that were going on and how I felt. And so I gained it back and I had to restart. And restarting that time was so challenging for me. But I did it, and I was able to learn so much from the restart experience. Then I had to restart again. It's not easy. Maintenance is not easy. And we were talking about before, trying to figure it all out is not something that we should be doing alone.
Right. Yep.
But I restarted again, and this was right before my wedding. And this time I wasn't filled with shame. I was just really ready to figure out maintenance. I said, I need to figure this out, because within my second reset, I was just, okay, this is what I did wrong, and this is how I'm going to fix it this time, and this is how I'm going to be better. Now, a pandemic is among us, and
along comes COVID. Yep.
And along comes COVID, and we're spending a lot of time inside, and I've been very blessed to continue to be at my work, and to go into work every day and to continue to have social interaction. But even that, I felt myself slipping into old habits. And so I texted you immediately, and I said, I need to be on phase 1 again. I said, I need to be doing something that I know is right and comfortable, so that I can continue to be making the correct decisions. And so I am just finishing out another phase 1, which is very exciting. And this time, again, it was so much, I loved having the ability to say, I know what to do. I know how to, look at myself and say, I'm getting to a point where I am reaching back into old habits, reaching back into addictive habits. And I have the tools and the understanding now and a coach willing to help me through that. And so I think the key thing there is I shouldn't have felt shame the first time,
Right. Yep.
Everybody goes through it, and nobody's journey is the same. It's been really hard, and there have been days where I've just felt awful. And if I'm being completely candid, this last time I put on a pair of jeans and they didn't fit. And I was supposed to go out somewhere. It was right before, the pandemic started, and I didn't go. I lost it, and I have a great supportive husband who was there for me. But I sat in my room and I cried because I didn't fit into my jeans anymore, and I didn't know what was going on. And then I said, no, wait, I can do this. But I needed that moment of, let's figure this out to keep pushing forward. And so I think it's just important for everybody to know that there's no shame in having to restart, and there's no shame in continuing along the path towards being healthy.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. And I hear the story over and over again. And, doc, I was too embarrassed to make the call. I'm so sorry. I've got to lose so many pounds again, et cetera, et cetera. And, again, you have to understand and be in a situation that your coach, your clinic owners, that's what we're here for. We've all done it. I'm putting together a model kind of the stages of ideal protein and maintenance, and the curve kind of goes up and down, and then it kind of flattens itself out. But my journey took me 3 years to get a hold of it, really.
Right.
And what I'm super excited about is all of the new things that Ideal Protein, when they revamped the protocol and the procedures, and they're continuing to do that our new stabilization and maintenance procedures, and I want to take you through this actually, are so tremendous that they really nail it on the head. And it really makes this part easier than it was before. So, again, I'm kind of hoping that this time you and I can kind of go through that, and especially with technology the way that it is. In fact, we'll meet in my studio. And,
I know. I just feel so blessed. We've been hanging out so much.
Right. But yeah, so that's what we have to look forward to.
Yeah, it's exciting. I feel like a big part of my journey, my personal journey, has been growing with the program. I've been a part of the Ideal Protein family for so long. And I miss coming to your office. I love where I live and what I'm doing. But it's just such a supportive community. And I feel so blessed to have so many supportive people around me who, are interested in what I'm doing and care about me enough to keep pushing me to achieve my goals.
So one last thing, if you were to give a piece of advice to a young lady who is on the fence as to whether she should or shouldn't attempt the Ideal Protein protocol, what would it be?
It would be do it. No, I really think I think looking back at, obviously I'm still a very young lady. I haven't grown all that much. It's only been 5 years I've done the Ideal Protein Protocol, but I think I just judged myself so much. I spent so much time judging myself before doing Ideal Protein about the way that I looked and the way that I let myself get. And that shame and that embarrassment prevented me from taking that step for so long. And I should have taken a step earlier to become healthier. And I think that everybody you have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself the ability to be your best self by not casting judgment on yourself and not casting judgment on others. You don't know what somebody's going through. Nobody knows what you're going through. But give yourself the grace to do it. And, one of the techniques that I've really taken to is centering myself in the morning. And I go to mass almost every day here. That's the way that I do it. Everybody does it differently. But taking the time for yourself to really reflect on what's going on in your life and how you can make changes to be healthier. But truly, it's just do it. You're not going to regret making, the best decision in your life.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Well, Kaitlin, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
Yeah. Again, being able to spend this week with you is so cool. And I do feel like this show hopefully is going to touch some hearts and change some lives. And, again, we always have so much to talk about. I'm sure that we've got another show in us there too.
Absolutely. So, I'm down.
So I look forward to seeing you. You're coming down during Christmas, and I look forward to seeing you. We just realized we haven't seen each other since February.
I know.
So we're looking forward to that. And until then, keep doing the best work that you're doing, because it's so, so, so important.
Thank you so much. And you too. I love you.
Love you too. All right. So probably one of the most personal shows that I've done. And she's such an amazing young lady. I know that she is going to touch some hearts and change some lives. So please share that with anybody that would benefit from that and identify with Kate. So thank you so much for being with us. As always, like, share, subscribe. We're on Facebook and YouTube, the video portion. The audio is on iTunes and Spotify and anywhere pretty much that you can find podcasts. Share it, like it, download it, subscribe, and help us out so that we can continue to improve this show. I've got all kinds of thoughts and dreams for 2021 in the show. In fact, what I'm going to say is, so we did this wonderful show with Kaitlin, and the next show that I'm actually going to put out is going to be on New Year's Day. I'm going to work on a kind of a year-end show, and we'll put that out there New Year's Day, hopefully to inspire you as to the new year that is going to be 2021. It's going to be the best year ever in so many ways, and I hope it's going to be the best year ever where you create and start your journey or continue your journey to reach your life possible. So until then, I will see you later, Ideal Protein Nation.